Okay, so welcome to our ComSciConCAN information session. My name is Julie McNutt. I am a PhD candidate at the University of British Columbia, and I attended ComSciCon in 2020, I think. And then from there on, I was on the organizing team ever since. So I've been involved in organizing a couple of our virtual conferences, as well as this is a second in-person conference I'll be involved in organizing. I'll pass it off to Pramod.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Julie. My name is Pramod Senrathiappa. I am a PhD candidate in physics at the University of Alberta. And I was privileged enough to attend the very first ComSciConCAN back in 2019, and then joined the organizing committee for a couple years afterwards. And now I'm providing more of a supporting role in the board, along with the next speaker, who is Sydney.
Thanks so much, Pramod. Yes, my name is Sydney Valentino, and I am a PhD candidate at McMaster University. And I was part of the first organizing committee back in 2019 when we hosted at McMaster. And I'm really pumped that it's going to be back at McMaster again this next year. And that's just a tidbit of information we'll be sharing here today. I'll send it back to you, Julie.
Thank you. All right, so the kind of goal of this information session is really to just give you an overview of what ComSciCon is and a little bit about the application process and what to expect upon attending the ComSciCon conference this year. So the kind of goal of ComSciConCAN was to train the next generation of science communicators and provide an opportunity to build skills as science communicators through networking, through interactive workshops, panels, and we also provide you the opportunity to develop your own science communication piece of any media of your choosing. And we'll tell you a little bit more about that later. This picture here is from our ComSciCon 2022 with all of our organizers and participants. And on the bottom there, you can see kind of the representation of participants among all of our conferences in Canada since 2019 in the bottom graph, and all of the different provinces that they've attended from. So as a little bit of a history of ComSciCon, it initially started in 2013 in the States through some graduate students who began this from Harvard University and MIT. And then in 2019, it was brought into Canada. As Cindy said, it was part of this very first ComSciConCAN conference at McMaster in Hamilton. And then from there, we made it even larger. So despite 2020, the challenges that kind of brought upon us as conferences, we switched to virtual, and we had regional conferences as well. So we had the ComSciCon in Quebec, which is now run every year. We've had ComSciConCAN West, so it was a Western conference for those provinces, and ComSciCon GTA. And so the regional conferences were there to provide support for students who are perhaps at a more introductory level of science communication, and just to increase our reach because we had such a large interest in these conferences. Then in 2021, we were still virtual, but we were able to then add another regional conference, which was the Atlantic Regional Conference. And then 2022 was our first year back in person since 2019. And we were also able to acquire not-for-profit status. So ComSciConCAN is now a not-for-profit organization. And as we've kind of alluded to here, is that ComSciConCAN, along with ComSciCon in the States, is a graduate student organized conference. So it's for graduate students by graduate students. This picture is a few of the organizers on the team from last year. There's many more that are not pictured here. And together we've been able to put this whole conference together, and over the last several years, and over 500 students have now attended ComSciConCAN conferences since 2019. So why should you participate? Well, there's a whole bunch of benefits, and here's a few that we've listed. So you can learn from leading SciComm experts from across Canada. We bring all sorts of experts to provide the panels and workshops that we have in our conference program. And you have the opportunity to hear from their stories, their experiences, as well as network with them, along with your other fellow science communicators. So all of the other participants have a chance to speak to one another. You learn from those who are in your discipline as well as beyond your discipline. And you get an opportunity throughout the conference to practice your SciComm skills and gain some real-time feedback. And the other piece of this is your SciComm pieces that I mentioned a little bit earlier was the Create-a-thon. And in this Create-a-thon, you'll get peer review and you'll also get expert review so that you can create some publication quality work. We also have publications that previous attendees have been able to publish in things like Scientific American or The Conversation. And we do have that listed on our website as well, if you wish to look at all of the ComSciCon pieces that have been published. On the right here is just a little bubble graph of showing the distribution of all of the different STEM disciplines that we've had participate in our conferences. Kind of the larger the bubble, the more students in that discipline. So we are really trying to have, this conversation is an interdisciplinary space for you to network within, but also learn from beyond. So with that, we have some testimonials. That's the other one I wanted to highlight. Just a few of our participants from the last few years of their experiences at ComSciCon. So feeling inspired to continue to work with and grow science communication work, high quality content and expert speakers, a must for trainees and students, connect with like-minded graduate students and create lifelong friendships are just some of the highlights I pulled from these testimonials. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Pramod, who will tell you a little bit about the application process.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Julie. So the application process is fairly simple. If you want to apply, we have a brand new website. We just launched it this year. It's ComSciConCanada.org. And once you go there, there'll be a big button saying apply now, and you can go from there. I believe maybe Julie might be able to drop a link into the chat as well. So you can just click that and go to the application, or not, you can just pull out your phone and scan that QR code right there. We have extended the application deadline for this year. So April 17th, which is a Monday, just under 2 weeks from now at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time is when that will be closing. So you have plenty of time to get together. It's not a very large application, but we encourage you to take a look at it well before this deadline and apply. So I see a question in the chat. Yeah, it's not the 10th. We've extended further to April 17th. And on, I think, the next slide, I can tell you a little bit about what this application is. So the first part of the application is fairly standard. We're collecting some information about you, your demographics, university demographics. Where are you doing your grad studies? What is the program you're doing? And your expected graduation date. Now, ComSciConCAN is geared towards graduate students, as Julie said, but we do accept people who have completed their grad degree within the last year. So even if you're doing, a postdoc or you've completed your master's or your PhD, as long as you're within about 1 year of that completion date, by the time you're applying, you are welcome to apply. If you have any questions about that eligibility, you can feel free to email us, and we can let you know. Then we're going to ask you where you're going to be coming in from. Now, this is important for us because we do fly in all of our attendees to our conference, so it's important we get that information. And finally, we collect some personal demographics that I will touch on a little bit later in the kind of EDI section of these slides. So we do try to take all of these into account, but at the first level, the most important part of our application are 3 written response questions that I'll tell you a little bit about on the next slide. Now, on our side, when we're evaluating applications, what we do is we blind all of the other data and only judge these 3 written response questions. So if you're looking to figure out what is the part of the application that you spend your most amount of time on, you should think about these 3 written response questions as what you should focus on. And then these other demographic information is just making sure that we're being equitable and diverse in our cohort that we accept into the actual workshop, and that's only considered later in the evaluation period. The final part of the application is this commitment to complete some pre-conference activities. Julie mentioned this create-a-thon where we're looking at pieces that you made. You're going to get peer feedback and expert reviewer feedback. And I think Sydney will explain what that is a little bit more, but this is just at this stage saying, I commit to spending a little bit of time before I actually come in to the workshop, and I have something ready for that. Now, one note you can make is that you should look at this application anytime you have a little bit of spare time, because you can start the application, save it, return to it later, so you can think about what your written response questions are before you hit submit. Okay, so the 3 written response questions are these. So the first question is a maximum of 750 characters. This is, as you see the asterisks at the bottom, including spaces, is describe your previous experience in science communication and how that experience is innovative or impactful. And I think we have, we accept, you can choose one experience that you have in science communication and write about that entirely, or you can choose a few. That is up to you to decide how you want to do it. We're trying to keep these questions as general as you want, and we'll mark it very taking into account that people have a diversity of experience in SciComm, and maybe you don't have as many opportunities in your field. So we are trying to make sure that we give you a space where you can describe your activities in a very general sense. Second question is, imagine you are asked what you do by a member of the general public, and please give an example of how you describe your work in an accurate but also exciting and engaging way. So there's a 500 character max question, so just tell us what you do and make sure that we are able to grasp it even if we're not in your field of study. And finally, how will attending ComSciConCAN help further your goals as a science communicator? You can relate this to your future aspirations, your career aspirations, and just tell us what you hope to get out of this conference. If you want more details about these 3 questions, there are more details on the application page, but a couple of tips: that previous SciComm experience is required, but you don't have to be an expert at it. If you've done some form of outreach, that counts as SciComm experience. And finally, answering these 3 questions is an act of SciComm itself. So yeah, please feel free to put your personality into answering these questions, and I promise you it'll shine through. Okay, yeah, so those are 3 written response questions. Like I said before, at the evaluation level, we look at these first, score them without looking at any of the other data. But once it comes to choosing our between 25 to 50 attendees, we have to make sure that we are being equitable and diverse with the cohort we accept. So we do take into account the other information, the demographic information. So I'm just going to read out our application equity, diversity, and inclusion statement because it is a pretty important part. And I want to make sure we don't miss any of it. So ComSciConCAN acknowledges and appreciates diversity and various lived experiences of our science communication community. And we recognize our responsibility to actively contribute to a more just society. So we are committed to ensuring that our cohort of conference attendees reflects the Canadian community. We strongly encourage applications from historically excluded groups, including but not limited to Indigenous peoples of Canada, visible minorities, persons with disabilities, and persons from the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. Our selection of applicants is based not only on the merit of the written application piece, but also on EDI considerations, as well as considerations that include, but are not limited to, geographical location, university affiliation, and field of study. And finally, ComSciConCAN is a nonprofit organization. So all of our conference funding comes from our sponsors. It comes from the institutes that you are attending and some corporate sponsors as well. And dependent on that funding, which fluctuates from year to year, we have the expenses that each candidate requires may be taken into consideration when we're accepting our final cohort. And that is a little bit about the EDI and budget process. Finally, the results of your application will come out. We're anticipating about early May, and you will be given an email whether you're accepted or not, or whether you're being put on the wait list. And so keep an eye on your email. We have had some issues in the past with some of our emails going to spam. So make sure you're checking your spam folder. And one other way that you can follow us is on Twitter. We make sure that we're updating our attendees when we've sent out our acceptances. So applications are quite competitive. We accept between 30 to 50 attendees, depending on our funding. And we've had up to about 400 applicants in previous years. And if you are not successful in 1 year, you can apply multiple years in a row, as long as you remain a graduate student or within 1 year of your grad studies. And we do, of course, ask that you only attend once. So once you apply for ComSciConCAN, you could tell your friends, but then we may not let you, you've gone through the process already. Okay, so I think that's all from me from the application process. So Sydney is going to tell you a little bit more about the other aspects of the conference.
Awesome. Yeah, so something that I will reiterate is that ComSciCon is a not-for-profit organization, and I think a good opportunity, if you do want to attend ComSciConCAN again, you can do it by being part of the organizing committee. So we are all here as volunteers, and many of our organizers volunteer year after year, like myself, and it's really rewarding to get to know everyone and build a network of science communicators. As Pramod mentioned, the conference will be subsidized for accepted applicants, where travel and to Hamilton and lodging to McMaster this year will be provided. So successful applicants also need to keep an eye out for some of that graduate travel funds, because that can help us out in terms of getting you to Hamilton and providing some reimbursement, additional ways of accessing some funds to fund this work and get you working on your science communication. So we mentioned earlier on, you should have some idea of a piece that you would like to create and develop for your science communication. And you can have an idea or just be excited about something. You don't have to have something ready. We've developed this idea from a write-a-thon to now a create-a-thon. So our attendees have created as diverse of experiences as an escape room that was science themed. We have Pramod, who did an awesome Dance Your PhD. So that was something that was created before, and iterations of it could be created again in the future for publication or for presentation, or maybe it's something that you already have going on. So because we want drafts of this creation, we want you to submit that ahead of time, 1.5 months before the workshop. So if you are having an idea ready to go and it takes longer to create, maybe you want to start creating that now, and you'll be able to get it out into the world whether or not you get accepted to this workshop. You will be assigned to a group where you can then provide peer edits for other people who have created similar types of pieces. So the written pieces will be grouped together. And that allows us to assign an expert to your group. So for example, written pieces will find an awesome science journalist to review your work, or someone with past experience that can help enhance beyond that peer feedback. So you can see that there's these time points that are really important. And if you provide the feedback, you will get the same feedback back on your work. And then that allows you to come to the conference and meet or engage with your expert in person. And that will, you also get to see the feedback of your peers in that process. So it's really quite a friendly experience. And then you also get to learn from others as well. While you might have a piece that you're excited on developing, you're probably already doing stuff or engaging in the community by doing science communication in other ways as well. So the show and tell is an opportunity for you to present any science communication initiative that you're already doing. It could be a poster to talk about, for example, your soapbox science chapter, or maybe a community initiative that you're already doing, and you can present that in a poster, or you can bring your media, digital media or art to just display it and either hear feedback or just show off the awesome work that you're already doing. You can talk about challenges and successes throughout the process, and even bring an idea forward so that you can connect with other like-minded individuals. Like Pramod mentioned, we accept a diverse group of people, but you end up finding people that are just around the corner and maybe a department away that are close by, but are similarly interested in science communication. So we find that through some of the different events, people get connected and start their own science communication initiative, whether it's a podcast, which is great because you can do that virtually anywhere, and even creating some community initiatives where you're working together, for example, in Hamilton, to keep your excitement from the science communication workshop going. So you can share a project in any phase, and even try and get a partner for a science communication initiative that you're excited about. And yeah, like I said, share a final product. So here's a sneak peek on some of the panels, workshops that we have going. And for the panel, you can expect it will be done virtually, but you get to watch some questions ahead of time that we gather from attendees that get accepted. And then we end up opening it up to everyone to ask additional questions to a panel of experts with that certain theme. So we have communicating through education and outreach, and science ethics as the panels this year. Our keynote will open the conference and is always a really exciting expert that often you either know of or didn't realize you know, and we bring them in hopefully this year in person. And workshops coming up are going to be data visualization, Indigenous connections, social media for science communication, and science improv or science comedy. And all of these are throughout the conference, and you can expect to walk away having worked on something. So you're not just bringing in your questions, you're also working on or developing. Maybe you bring in a data visualization that you were thinking about and want to receive a bit of feedback. You can ask questions and engage with our experts. Our schedule truly is jam-packed. We have networking, careers dinner, and trivia night, all with science themed from a broad, diverse amount of subjects. And honestly, we just have a lot of fun and connect with a great group of people. You could not imagine a better group to try different science communication out and get feedback from. We honestly end up leaving after the weekend feeling more like a family. And I think that is it. I will put it out to everyone here to ask questions. So we'll pause the recording.